And we're going to see why the police do what they do.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Parham, 20 years, actually 21st year law enforcement here. Grew up right here on Passaic Avenue, 1200 block. Went to school for annex, went to school for before they tore it down. Went to Morning Star, church, grew up there. This is home to me, so when I come here, when I have an opportunity to come back and share some information, it's talking to family. So what you hear from me is going to be the truth. Now, some of the things I'm going to talk about tonight are going to make you upset. You're going to be mad. I'm going to explain to you why the police officers act the way that they do. And some of those things you're not going to like. It's not going to sit well with you. And you're going to wonder why we do those things. And you're going to ask yourself, well, is that the way it's supposed to be, and should we change that? I'm not going to spoil the presentation, but I will tell you that there's a specific reason why we're talking in this community. Let's go on to the mental health aspect. A lot of times, in the minority community, we don't send our loved ones to get help. What we try to do is we pray over them, right? We say that that's Uncle so-and-so, let's put him in the back room. We do all those things because we don't want to address what's actually happening to our family. We think it's some kind of curse. Maybe you sinned, or maybe somebody did something bad in your life, and that's why you are the way you are. It didn't happen by sin. You're not cursed. There's nothing wrong with you. It just so happens that that person, that loved one that you have in your family, has either developmental disability or they have some type of psychiatric disorder that needs treatment. They need medication, they need treatment, they need your love, they need your understanding, they need your patience, and they need you to do a little bit of homework to try to figure out what you can do to help them. That is it. They don't need to be shunned. They don't need to be beat on. They don't need to be pushed aside. They need to be loved. They need to be cared for. That's what we're looking to do. The Linden Police Department has the most crisis intervention trained officers in the county. We have 20 and we're going for more. We have a program that we actually go around the state and we teach other police departments how to interact with people with mental disabilities and disorders, and how we can interact with them and not hurt them. We actually have a program where we have someone that, maybe we encounter and they're going to fight us. So we already know that. We go into it, we can talk as nice as we want, we can use all these techniques, but they're just volatile for whatever reason. Usually it's because of our uniform, it's because of the car, it's because of the radio. All those things set people off. So how do we interact with them and get them to come with us? Well, sometimes we have to take them into physical control for their own good. How do we do that without hurting them? Police officers don't train to put their hands on you and not hurt you. I'm going to say that's one of those things that you just don't like to hear. We don't train you, we don't train our police officers to physically grab you and not hurt you. That's just life. That's just the way it is. If we have to use force, then we're going to do what we have to do to bring you under control. And if you get hurt, then that's just a part of it. But we don't want to do that to our loved ones who have done nothing wrong other than having developmental disability. We don't want to hurt those people who have done absolutely nothing wrong than just be born the way that they are. Another little statistic that you might want to understand is paranoid schizophrenia. The most undiagnosed mental illness usually kicks in early 20s, 25, 22, 25, somewhere around there. So when you start seeing your young loved ones start to act a little bit strange, out of the ordinary, they're doing things, running around naked or things like that, you need to get them to a doctor. You need to get them to a hospital. You need to get them diagnosed and start getting them on some medication. You cannot avoid this stuff. You can't push it aside. You can't pray it away. Listen, I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. But I also believe that God and Jesus put some doctors here.
You got that right.
Used them. Okay, so that's the end of that. We'll move on. So why we do what we do? Listen, there's no shock. I'm going to tell you some stuff here that you're going to say, yeah, we knew that. But you probably never heard it coming from a police officer. First of all, police officers sometimes are rude. Police officers sometimes have attitudes. Police officers sometimes walk around like we are God's gift to the world.
I ain't never seen nobody speak like that.
Sometimes we do that. Now, why is it? Hey, listen, there's a perfectly good reason for all that. I'm not here to justify it. I'm not here to say we do it like this and here's why we do it and it's okay. What I'm here to do is explain to you why the police officers that are out here, that are getting paid to protect you while you sleep and watch over your loved ones, why we act the way that we act. And to make you understand that if it were you, put in the same situation, you would probably do the same thing. And a bunch of good reasons for that. You should hit the slide, please. So, we're going to talk about those things. I want some input from you. I would really love for you to chime in. If you have a comment, just blurt it on out. Kick it to me. Let's talk about it. This is space bar. Okay, so let's talk about these lights.
Can you pull that door closed a little?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let's talk about policing for a minute. Let's talk about what brings us to policing, what happens when we get there, what kind of rules are set up to control our behavior, and finally, and most importantly, you're going to see that the biggest reason why we do what we do is the training. What do we have here? What do you see? Two kids with guns. More importantly, what you see are two little boys playing cops and robbers, playing cowboys and Indians, playing good guys and bad guys. Guess what? Every cop in this room has played that game 1,000 times. You all have probably played that game. The man out there, you probably played that game 1,000 times. And it's something that you look and you see, you go, nothing unusual about that. That's just little boys being little boys. Now, the group that I'm going to talk about, obviously this doesn't encompass all police officers, but it covers the vast majority. And it's going to help you understand some of the rules that are in place and why they're acted out the way that they are. So you see these little boys right here, and you see them doing what little boys do, and you're not surprised. Matter of fact, you probably encourage some of your kids to act like, hey, get out in the yard, go play, go do something. You know, go get a cat gun and run around and chase each other, do something. Well, that's okay, because that's how you expect us to act. Well, that's where it starts. That's where it starts right there. They go from there to here in a blink of an eye. So bad boys, what do they want? Well, here's what it is. They want to battle a fight, an adventure to live, and a damsel to rescue. If you think of any good cop movie, all that stuff is built right into it. If you think about the games that the kids used to play, well, this is what we want. Listen, we want to fight for something. All right, first of all, we want to fight. Two, we want to fight for a reason. And after we finish fighting, what do we want? We want the girl.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. That's how we do it. And amazingly, this is going to go into the minds of all these young kids who ultimately end up going into the police academies and end up wearing this uniform for a career. Here is the biggest influence, bar none, of policing right here. Now this is called the CSI effect. The CSI effect basically means that you all get your lessons about policing from where?
Television.
The television. That's it, Law and Order. You think that's real? Listen, my wife won't let me watch Law and Order because I scream at the TV. I'm like, you can't do that, that's not real, you can't. Right? But that's where you get your lessons from Law and Order. You get it from all these movies. And you look at who we got. We got Denzel here. We got Bruce Willis. We got all these. Well, what kind of cops do we have here? What do you see? Rogue. My man. You see rogue cops. You see tough guys. You see people that don't take no stuff from nobody. And guess what? A part of you expects police officers to act that way. If you saw a police officer that walked around and was nice to everybody and, you know, I'm sorry, you'd say to yourself, what's wrong with that guy? Why is he acting like that? That's not how a cop's supposed to act. But guess what? He acts that way because he was conditioned to act that way. And you expect him to act that way because of what you see right here on the TV. Now, some of you that are a little bit older, been around a little bit longer, let's go back to Adam 12 and Dragnet. Now, probably nobody here recalls that. Okay. Were the police officers rude in those TV series? No, they weren't. Were they mean?
No.
Were they sloppy?
No.
They weren't any of those things. They were respectful, right? They were respectful. They knew what they were doing. They spoke to you in a certain manner, and you expected them to act that way. But somewhere around the 70s, late 80s, we started seeing Dirty Harry. And we started seeing all these other rogue characters that said, we will do things our way. We will get the bad guy at whatever cost it takes. And guess what? That is what is influencing policing today. You want us to get the bad guy. We want to get the bad guy no matter what it costs. That's not good. That's not healthy, and that's not safe. 20 years ago, well, about 21 years ago, they had a writer's strike on TV. TV and movies, there was a writer's strike. And they were trying to figure out, how are we going to get a good television program up there that people are going to watch? They said, hey, listen, the writers are all gone. I mean, there's probably going to be some garbage. We really just need to get out there and get something. So Stephen J. Cannell got into a police car, and he jumps in there, and he says, that's the answer. 21 years later, it is still the longest running unscripted reality TV show that's out there. And America has a love affair with those police officers. You all can right now name about 3 or 4 different movie stars that have portrayed police officers right now without even thinking about it. And you've all seen those movies more than once. We went from regular cops to the craziest chases to the craziest shootouts. And you've all seen it. And you watched it, and you were glued to the TV. And when the news comes on and the helicopter is chasing OJ down the highway, you all watched it. And you said to yourself, man, when the cops catch him, what are they going to do? What are they going to do to him? Well, okay, all right, and you expected that of them. You expected your police officers that you're paying good money to beat someone when we catch them. But then you complain about your loved ones getting beat when we catch them. Do we see a problem there? And there is a problem. There is a problem. What we're looking at now is we're looking at the psyche of the person that becomes a police officer. So we decide, listen, we grow up playing cops and robbers, good guys and bad guys, knights in the round table, all that kind of cool stuff. And we know that all we have to do is defeat the bad guy and we're going to get the girl. Get out there and we say, okay, this is the job that we want. And there's something special about this. I get to wear an identifiable uniform. I get to wear a gun, and not too many other people get to do that. I get to go in places and do things that nobody else can do. And that makes me special. And we believe that. And there's not a man in here that won't say, yeah, I tell you what, I love being a cop. It makes me feel special. One thing we want to ask you, though, to push that out is, could you do it?
It's 4 a.m. You just pulled over a vehicle and stole the place. You had no idea it was inside. You don't know if they're armed. You're not sure what you're walking into. Could you do it?
Could you do it?
No.
Could you do it? Could you go out there at 4 o'clock in the morning on a cold street, if it's raining outside, stop the car, walk up to it, and not know what's going on, gun on your side, just you, maybe your partner in that vehicle? Can you do it? And guess what? We're asking you that stuff because we're saying to ourselves, we can do it. That makes us special. We're special because we can do it and you can't. See what's going on now? You want the police to be the community and the community to be police, but we just told you we're special and you're not. And so what are we doing? We've already created that divide that says, you're not like us, and we're not like you. So when we say it's us against them, it starts way back. It starts back here, at the police academy. That's where it starts. That's where it starts when I start making all my police officers shave their head and run a certain way and do a certain thing and jump up and jump down because I tell them to. It starts that way because our stress management to them is, guess what? I'm in your face at 5 o'clock in the morning and I am nose to nose with you and I'm calling you everything but a child of God and I'm expecting you to stand there and take it. That is something called mirroring. Now, it is exactly what it sounds like. Mirroring is something that happens, it comes right back at you. So me as a drill instructor, let me tell you something. I was probably one of the most active drill instructors at the police academy. I did it for a number of years. Don't believe me, ask somebody, they'll tell you. All right? And I would get out there. And I would get out there 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And I would say, I didn't ask you to come here. I don't care if you die. I don't care if you live. When you leave this place, you are an example of me. I am the man. And if you are not up to my standards, you will not make it. Do you understand me? And no matter how loud they scream, guess what? They wasn't loud enough. No matter how hard they ran or how high they jumped, it wasn't good enough. And when I got in their face, I yelled and I talked about them and I cursed and I said all kinds of nasty things to them because I wanted them to be prepared for the streets.
Right.
That's what I'm telling them. I'm doing this because I want to make you ready for what's going to happen out there. But what did I do? I made them me on the street. So when they see your loved ones and things aren't going right, do they speak nice to you? They do what was done to them. They get in your face. They scream. They try to intimidate you. All right? They use the power of more cops to say, listen, you're going to do what we want you to do. They call you everything but a child of God, and then they put their hands on you. Now, there's a reason for some of the things that we do, but what I'm telling you is that the police officers that don't do things 100% the right way, or even the ones that do, are doing what they're trained to do. Whether they realize it or not, from the first time that I see them at the academy, they start mirroring me. They start picking up what I put out to them. And I expect them to act a certain way. Listen, I'm telling them I want your shoes shine. I want you to look a certain way. If I tell you to do 50 push-ups, you better believe I can do 150. Okay, so what are we saying? I need you to be physically strong. I need you to be rude. I need you to be nasty. That's what a good police officer is. There's something wrong with that. There's something very wrong with that. And if you're looking to try to find out why your loved ones are having a problem with the police, you don't need to really look at that police officer. You need to look at where he was trained and how he was trained. And let's go back there and change some of that behavior. Because that will ultimately end up in the understanding that there is no difference between you and I. I grew up on 1200 block of Passaic Avenue. Some of you knew my parents. I mean, I'm Johnny. I'm a little kid from around the corner that Dorothy Ford told on when I went on Channel Ave. That's to me, you know. I mean, that is.
She told everybody.
so that's what it is. There is no difference. I just do a different job. I'm not better. I'm not different. I'm not special. We're all men and women doing the job. And when we understand that, if that's what we preach, if that's what we kick in their mind, then that's what will come back to them and come back to you all. But that's not how we look at it. So, if the streets are tough, and I'm telling them how tough the streets are, well, then our training's got to be tough, right? Let me show you a little something.
And tonight, see with your own eyes from this training exercise in Norfolk, the instructor repeatedly punched recruit John Kahn moments before he was rushed to the hospital where he later died. Lieutenant Your Side's Jason Marks has been poring over this video since it came in. What does it tell us, Jason?
Well, Tom, it's very telling. We've been showing you this video all week long of a collision between Kahn and another recruit, but this isn't the only head injury that Kahn sustained. Then there's this video, taken just minutes after that collision. You can see Kahn on the bottom, the instructors on the top hitting repeatedly in the head. This is a big deal the Norfolk police officers never seem to mention. I hit him with the right hand. His head popped back. Then I hit him 2 or 3 more times before he started to do things. Those the words of Norfolk police instructor Leldon Sapp. That's what he told investigators. But tonight, 10 on Your Side is getting a chance to see how many shots police recruit John Kahn.
Okay, so in a nutshell, the police trainers are training this recruit. They get him into a mixed martial arts type position, and they are training him and they're throwing punches at him. And they're hitting him in his head, and his head is bouncing off the mat, and if his head comes back up, they hit him again. His head bounces off the mat, they hit him again, and that keeps going on until he has a concussion. Knocks him out, goes to the hospital, and he dies. Now, how many of you think this is absolutely horrible? Who thinks that's terrible? Well, let me tell you how we looked at it back in the day when we first saw this. You know what we said? Man, that guy, I'm glad he died there, because if he didn't die there, his punk self would have probably died on the street, which would have got me killed. Well, that's how we think. If you are too weak to make it to the academy, make it through the academy, you certainly can't make it through the street, and then I certainly don't want you as my partner. I don't want you riding next to me and you can't take a little punch into the face. Big deal. It's a mindset. It's a mindset. Now some of you got your faces all twisted up and you're trying to figure out that's just not right. I understand, but this is what is going on. This is what happens. Now, do we need to do combat training? Absolutely. We absolutely do. Without a doubt. There's some crazy people out there and they know how to fight, and you know, it's a dangerous world. But do we have to do it that way? To where we totally just beat down the people that we're working? No, we don't need to do that. There's always a better way to do that. All right? And we're also sending a message to who? The other police officers that are around. Okay, well, that guy got beat up. We need to fight harder. We need to hit people a little bit harder to make sure that they don't do this to us. What does that mean? Tools. That's the question. Well, that's the point. Tools. If the tools that I give these officers is aggressive attitude, push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups and all that good stuff, and beating people down, what do you think they're going to use when they come in contact with you? Well, the tools that they were given. That's it. They're going to use the tools that they were given. My point about this whole speech is that there is a better way. But law enforcement, just like government, is slow to change. And usually we only change it when somebody dies or there's a massive lawsuit. That's just life. But we can change if you, the community, we, the people, make us think about it. Say, wait a minute. Let's take a look at what the police are doing. Now, I'm not saying we're wrong. What I'm saying is we are doing what we're trained to do. And if the end result doesn't match what the end result should be, then our constituents, our clients, the people that we are here for, which is you all, need to stand up and say something and stop that type of behavior. We need to change it. We need to look at some more tools that are out there. Now, bad guys are still going to be bad guys. Guns are still going to be out on the street. There's still going to be people robbing banks and those other kind of things. A lot of the tactics that we use work perfect in those situations. But let's just say we run across that person that has that developmental disability, and all we know is chokehold and breaking your arm and slamming you to the ground. Well, when you become violent and you have a developmental disability and I need to restrain you, you know what I know how to do? Chokehold, break your arm, slam you to the ground.
No, you gotta be crazy, man. You got to be sick.
You would
Just
think
talk
so.
about my sister. What do we say about the thing right here? And you're gonna talk you on. I can see restraining. What you talking about this? But I can see restraining, breaking arms, and that's just a woman. We only talking about this right now. I'm not telling you. We were trained.
So you don't like that?
No, I don't like that.
Okay. And guess what? There's a better way. There is a better way. There's a way, and we teach it. We teach it. But everyone, it hasn't spread to everyone because people haven't complained. People haven't said, wait a minute, you don't have to do that. There's got to be a better way for you to take my loved one into custody and have them get some help without breaking their arm. And there is.
Boy.
So let's take a look at some of the behavior control mechanisms. Remember, that police officer started off as a kid. He's running around doing all those cool things, and he liked the rogue police officers on TV because he felt like, I'm going to get this job. I can do whatever I want. I'm my own boss. I'm not going to sit behind a desk. No one's going to tell me what to do. He got on a job, went to the academy, got a lot of aggressive behavior built into him, and then he gets on the job and what happens? This here is an example of what happens when we all get on the job, and that's called our wake-up call. It is a behavior control mechanism that are inherently put into law enforcement. And what's that called? Rules and regulations, policies and procedures, directives and orders. Everything we do is governed by a piece of paper. And I say everything to how far your sideburns can be cut, how far the hair on the back of your neck can go. All these things are governed on a piece of paper. And why is that? Because we don't want people having unlimited control out there on the street. We want to be able to rein you in and make you do the right thing and not just go out there and go crazy. And for the most part, police officers do the right thing. So let's take a look at this. What is this? The 4th Amendment and Article 1, Paragraph 7 of the New Jersey State Constitution. Well, that basically says that, we can't just go in your house. We can't just search your cars. We can't do all these crazy things just because we feel like it. We have to have a warrant. All right, in order to search your car, in order to search your house, under certain circumstances, we have to have a warrant. Hit the space bar. Well, unless. Now look at all of that. This is your police officer. Most of them high school education. Right? Going to the police academy, working hard, wants to get out there and do the job, but wants to go catch bad guys. That's what we really want to do. You ask any cop why he joined the job. That is not one police officer, including our current chief, who will say, I joined the job so I could be the chief of police. Nope, not gonna happen. They want to get in car pursuits. They want to catch bad guys. They want to get guns off the street. They want to do real cop stuff. What is the mantra for police? Protecting what? Serve. Now you all know that. Everybody in here can say, hey, listen, you aren't just supposed to be protecting and serving. Well, where does it say that all you do is spend all your time catching people with guns and drugs and stuff? Isn't protecting and serving making sure that that lady, that old lady, that senior citizen that's on a subsidized living, that's maybe it's 2 degrees outside and her heat's not on, isn't serving making sure that she gets some heat? Isn't serving making sure that she has some utilities to live and sustain herself? I think so. One of the biggest struggles we have with new police officers right now, we got one here right now, and I'll tell you, and we just had a meeting today, is listen, do your job. Go out there, get the guns off the street, get the drugs off the street. But when you talk to people, speak to them like you want somebody to speak to your parents.
Thank you.
Talk to them like you want them to talk to you. And they do that, and they do that. But I tell you what, it's a long, hard road because they're fighting the training that they have.
Yes.
They walk up on you. I'll tell you, I'm not giving away any secrets. We've all been there. Police officers look at everyone like, okay, when's the next fight coming? All right, so they stand there and they're rigid. You don't have to do that. And what we're trying to say is, we're people. Listen, the fight may be coming. And if you're smart and you're trained properly, you'll see it and you'll deal with it the right way. And we have tactics for that. But what we want everybody to understand is that we're here to serve the people. We're not here to be served by the people. We're here to serve the people. Here's one of our biggest problems, our use of force. And the problem isn't just in how we use force, it's in how we understand the use of force. So here's our big levels of force. And it goes everything from just talking to people to obviously deadly force. So if you take a look at this model here on how to use force, can anyone tell me how we should use force based upon that? It's ridiculous. Well, here's the problem. When we go to the police academy and we train our recruits, they sit in the class 8 hours a day and they go through all these lessons and they get stuff like this that says, here's your use of force policy, learn it, pass the test, and they never see it again. Use of force, one of the most important things an officer can ever do. They get it in a test, and then that's it. It's done. But you all don't know that. You don't know what goes on in the police academy. You learn from watching TV. You think it's Bubba Smith and people acting crazy and bullhorns and stuff like that. That's not what happens. We learn these lessons, and then we pass the test, and then we forget about it because I don't have to learn anymore until I get out on the street and I have to apply this. Here's some of that application. Okay, so we have a bit of an issue here. And that issue is when we are allowed to use force, we have to utilize the tools that we've been given. You might know what this is. Okay, you say it's a, anybody says, who says it's a shotgun? Shotgun. Okay, well, Mr. Giles, and I've known this man ever since I knew myself. This is not a shotgun. This is a less lethal launcher. And what makes this different than a shotgun? It's orange. That's it. Now, if you look at the Attorney General guidelines, it says a 12-gauge shotgun is no longer a shotgun, it's a less lethal launcher, as long as you paint it orange. Now, that's kind of silly. But when we confront someone who maybe has a knife or they're having some type of episode or they have a developmental disability, and we want to bring them into control, we stand in front of them with this less lethal launcher with a drag stabilized bean bag, and we point it at you and we fire that launcher at you. We don't shoot you with a shotgun. That would be illegal. All right? We hit you with a less lethal launcher. And this is the tool that's, now, in certain circumstances, these tools are perfect. But when we deal with this man's sister, and the only tool they've given us is mace, and a PR-24, and a shotgun, and that's all we have, guess what we're going to use? Exactly what you've given us. And then you ask yourself, wait a minute, why is that cop beating that man with a stick? And the answer is real simple. You gave us the stick. That's it. If you give me the stick and something happens, I'm going to use the stick. Now, you laugh and it sounds silly, but that's it. That's a stick. You don't like to see somebody on TV getting beat with a stick, do you? You think it's bad. But in the police academy, they train in this all the time. You don't want to see somebody get shot with a shotgun. Now, sometimes this is absolutely necessary. When we are dealing with violent criminals, absolutely it's necessary. But there's got to be a line where we say, you're not a violent criminal, you're a person that needs some help. There's got to be a different way for us to deal with you than we deal with these other people. There's got to be. Because you're not like them. You need help. You don't need to get shot with a shotgun. But that's all you gave us. That's all we're going to use. So I'm going to ask you a little question. We're going to play a little game here.
All right.
And the game is, what's your opinion?
Seattle, Washington. A deranged man wields a samurai sword and holds a street corner hostage. He is convinced he is possessed by the devil.
Everybody, on the sidewalk, not in the street.
Cops don't take any chances. SWAT immediately arrives with weapons of their own. The man is full of rage and oblivious to the crowd. Police are on high alert as the man expertly brandishes his weapon, prepared to kill the invisible demons who haunt him. But before he can harm anyone, the tactical team tries to disorient the deranged man using non-lethal beanbags. The intent is to get him to drop his sword. Cops are in for a long one as the crazed man's behavior becomes more erratic and nighttime finally sets in. More serious measures are underway. Cops still avoid using real bullets. Now they try to subdue the suspect by spraying a non-toxic substance that irritates the skin. Next, the SWAT team blasts him with thousands of gallons of water shot from high-powered hoses. The water acts like a cannon, forcing the man down. Police make certain he doesn't come back fighting and pin him against the wall with a ladder. success. And not a bullet is fired, and not a soul is hurt. One man's psychotic episode comes to a close. Paramedics take him to a local psychiatric hospital, where he can fight his demons with the help of a doctor instead of a sword.
How many of you would say that the police showed remarkable restraint on that? Okay, so you're all happy with this, the way this turned out. The guy didn't get shot. He ended up in a hospital getting the treatment that he needed. Well, let me back this up for a little bit. Let's talk real. This is a little real talk here. This incident took 14 hours to be resolved. Now, that's a problem.
That's the problem.
It is a huge problem. And let me tell you why it's a problem, because you all pay taxes.
That's right.
All right, you know what that means? 14 hours worth of overtime. 14 hours worth of the streets being blocked off and you can't get in your house. 14 hours worth of keeping people there and having command posts set up and having doctors come in and having all these things that are out there. 14 hours of it. Now, you say to yourself, well, that's okay because they saved this man. You say that until we start asking for a little bit more money because we've just depleted our overtime budget. And we can't put police officers on the street anymore. Or we're out of police officers because people are getting hurt, or whatever the case may be. There's a monetary issue that comes into play. How many of those 14-hour things can we do before we just don't have any more money? Well, that's an issue.
Yep.
That's an issue. And if you ask yourself, well, what should they have done? I don't necessarily have an answer for you. But I know that 14 hours worth of this is not a good thing for anybody. Now,
Can I ask you a question?
yes.
That happens in Linden. You know what to do now, right? Get the fire hoses out. You should have 10 minutes, right?
Well, we got a problem with that. We got a problem with that. Yes, ma'am.
And not only that, my husband is a police officer, and it's also you guys when they go home. And I don't want to see my husband having to do that to anyone. He has to defend himself, but I don't want to see him hit someone with a stick. But that's the only thing he has.
Yeah, there are some issues that are built into this that cause us some problems. We've had some incidents here where we've had some people that have repeatedly called and threatened the police, and our response, because of our policy and procedure, is we're going to evacuate the buildings around them. We're going to set up a perimeter. We're going to try to establish some communication. All these things that you see on TV, well, we do that. And this particular person did it time and time again. Took him to the hospital, he came back, and 2 hours later, he did it again. Took him to the hospital, came back, and he did it again. And some of you are familiar with the case. And it only got settled just by chance when this person did this incident, and the prosecutor happened to be in one of the buildings, and we told him, you can't leave because we're setting up a perimeter. And he had to stay there. So.
Do you think the reason they saved him is because he wasn't really sharp? I mean, like the guy in New York with the knife just running up on the police was shot and killed.
Sure.
I guess there was a certain amount of aggression that caused him to get killed. Do you think it was the fact that he didn't really charge anybody?
Absolutely. And listen, I am not advocating that this man should have been shot. He certainly should not have been shot. He's a person that, paranoid schizophrenic, he's got a sword. He's not attacking anybody. He's not running around trying to cut somebody. He just has a sword. He's a danger, probably at that point, more to himself than anybody else. But there comes a time when you got to draw the line and say, okay, we might need to shut this down because we're going to have some issues. And if we see this guy again, is this going to be another 14 hours? And then another 14 hours, another 14 hours? Yeah, we want to show some control, but we also have a fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers to make sure that we don't do things that are out of the ordinary and out of control. So that's irresponsible on our part to just sit here and let that go on and go on and go on. Sir?
Are we using tasers in there?
Tasers?
Yes.
We were given money by Conoco Phillips. The prosecutor hasn't given us the authorization to purchase it.
So we don't have them right now?
We don't have it.
Now you guys agree that's a nice weapon, or a nice...
It is.
I think especially when you're dealing with people with developmental disabilities, it is far better than us having to put our hands on it, without a doubt.
I mean, I've seen some stuff on some of the shows, it takes somebody down pretty quick.
And it is very
And then
effective.
you guys get control right away.
I agree. Let's look at the next one real quick.
Ohio. Police are held at bay by a distraught man who's holding a gun to his head. Sitting on a lawn chair in the middle of the road, he makes two demands.
He wanted an attorney to fill out his will, and he was going to kill himself. The only other demand that he had was he wanted to see his girlfriend.
The troubled man wants his girlfriend to watch as he takes his own life. Police negotiators try to talk him out of it, but the man only grows more agitated.
He was irate, irrational, He'd be waving the gun at us, and so it was very, very tense.
The desperate man repeatedly places the gun beneath his chin. Police know they need to act quickly before he hurts himself or someone else.
That's what was so hard about this situation. None of our other tools would work. He was just too far away for anything else to be deployed. And so our only option was to use a sniper shot.
Police snipers are called to the scene. They take aim at the suspect's gun. Veteran sharpshooter Mike Plum zeroes in from a nearby hillside.
I knew that once he sat down in the chair, the opportunity was mine. And the way he held the gun, I knew that he would just pull it right out of his hand.
The negotiations reach a standstill.
501 Patrol, I've authorized officers to fire.
The command is given. Bullseye. The man is shocked that he is suddenly disarmed.
It was the most dumbfounded look I've ever seen on a human being, honestly.
As the man reaches for his gun, officers charge the suspect and lifts him to the ground.
His head on the chin a little bit, I think on the cheek. He was face down, and I got down into him. I said, "See, buddy," I said, "we didn't want to hurt you." And he looked up at me and said, "That was a great shot."
After an intense 2-hour standoff, the suspect is taken into custody. Sharpshooter's pinpoint accuracy shatters the pistol into 3 pieces. Today, the remains hang proudly on the wall of the police department.
What do we think?
Great shot.
Outstanding shot. Outstanding. You guys like that?
Yeah.
That's, you know, that is great shooting. He didn't hurt himself, he didn't hurt anybody else. But I got a little bad news for you. If I am the supervisor at that scene, let me tell you some of the things that are going to happen. First of all, I'm going to take that officer, fire that round, take him off the range or off the field, and I'm going to immediately take his firearm and I'm going to suspend him on the spot. On the spot, because you do not use deadly force to help somebody not kill himself. If he was going to kill himself, me shooting a gun at him is only going to do what? Possibly have a chance of me killing him. The Attorney General guidelines strictly say you will not use deadly force to prevent a suicide. Shooting a rifle at somebody, even if you aim at the gun, is what? Deadly force. Wrong. We don't do it like that. It's illegal. Period. End of story. You can't do it. Now, I don't know where that was, but it wasn't in New Jersey. And you can best believe that if that happened in New Jersey, you all might be clapping for that officer, but he'd be hanging that flag on the unemployment line.
Well, he was ordered to do that.
Not in New Jersey, he wasn't.
Wherever that was, he was ordered to do that.
Well, wherever that was, he was followed.
Exactly, wherever he was.
Not you gotta take the.
But in New Jersey, in Linden, you won't see anything. It's not going to happen. So how do you solve that incident? What do you think? Guy got a gun in his hand. He's sitting there. He wants to commit suicide.
It's being how to stand up. Be man. You gotta talk him
Well,
up.
you know what? I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. There's a lot of things we could do, but my point is, what we won't do is we won't shoot a gun out of his hand. All right, now, you saw this here in real life. You saw it on TV where guys were running and T.J. Hooker hit somebody with a stick and they fall. That's TV. All right? That is illegal in New Jersey. These are things that we cannot do. And we want to make you understand there's a limitation on what we can do. So sometimes it may take 14 hours. That shouldn't be the norm. That won't happen. Don't look for that to happen. Don't say, well, why don't they just shoot the gun out of his hand? Because it's illegal. Because we can't do that. And if you don't know that, you have different expectations as to what is actually happening. Ms. Giles, did you have something?
Yeah, I think a big part of the problem is that the social scientists are not doing their job in terms of taking care of our mentally ill.
Absolutely.
Because once they close Greystone and just let all those people out on the street, that problem has not gotten better, it has gotten worse. So I think they thought they were saving money, but they're saving on one end and spending more on the other end. Because if you guys could possibly be in a situation where you're spending so much money in overtime or whatever, and that money could just as well have been spent taking care of our mentally ill. And we're not providing enough support on any level. Not on the school level when they're children and they have mental problems, nor when they become adults. And so they get out on the street and they become a bigger problem. And I think very recently there was something in the news about an incident where police used too much force for someone who was mentally ill. And yeah, and the family stated that, you know, they call the police for help, not for them to come and kill the person.
And we would all say that with our loved ones.
Yeah, and so very often police are not trained to deal with the mental illness, and that's because, I mean, it is a part of their work, but it's because those people who are trained are not doing their jobs, are not being allowed to do it.
It's a matter of, and absolutely 100% correct.
And people are not pushing it. They need to
you
be
all need to
pushing
say,
more.
let's do something. Your voices need to be heard when it comes to the way that we handle things. If you're not happy with something, don't just march and say, rah, 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 this is wrong. You need to go speak to some policy leaders. You know, just talking in the street, well, that's great for the community to know that you're going to stand up. We'll take it a little bit further. Talk to the people that are actually going to change the laws, because that's where your voice, you really need to get heard. Well, you can start with your prosecutor, county prosecutor, because he needs to know that the way you're training your law enforcement, it's not wrong, it's just not adequate. If we are facing drug dealers and people that rob banks, well, then all the tools that we have are perfect. That's fine, we can do it that way. But if we're dealing with people that have developmental disabilities and they have psychological disorders, we don't want to treat them like criminals, because they're not criminals. They're people that need help. And that's what we've been taking a proactive role in Linden, is making sure that officers are trained to recognize those disabilities and try to interact with them and make sure that we do everything we can do to get this person help. If they're a danger to themselves, others, or property, is actually a mental health screening law that we can look to and have that person committed, or at least checked out to, you know, give them a little bit of an opportunity to calm down, give them some medication, things of that. That's what I mean? Absolutely, absolutely. Right here, as Mrs. Giles was saying, you know, we're spending all that money somewhere. Take a look at this picture. Here's response, and here's prevention. And it's just obvious. We have, and I'll back up, and it's, I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot here, but I command our SWAT team. And we were given about, over the course of the years, about $2 million worth of federal grant money to outfit the SWAT team because of some of the things that we have, some of the infrastructure we have in them. So we have a lot of equipment, we have a lot of training, we've gone all over the country. I mean, I can't even tell you, we've trained in all kinds of crazy places to make sure that some of the things that we have here in the city are properly protected. Well, there's a problem. We have a unit of however many people designed specifically to protect against terrorist events. Response. And I want to ask you this question. How many people do you think we have that their sole job is crime prevention?
0. Oh, we may have a couple.
Somebody says 0. We got any other numbers? 0 is correct. $2 million for response, $0 for prevention. 0 people for prevention. Now you say, well, that's what your job is, to go out there and prevent crime. Well, I tell you what, when we are faced with not enough police officers and injuries and overtime and all these things, our job doesn't become prevention, it actually becomes response. There is no prevention. There is none. This is what we're trying to do now, and we cannot do it alone. We need you all, we need everyone here to interact with us. We need to make sure that we force multiply whatever efforts we're doing, and we have some people out there to say, listen, we want to make sure that our neighborhoods are safe. We want to communicate with you. We want to let you know what's going on. We want to share your ideas, because I can guarantee you, what we think is important, 99.9 times is not what you think is important. That's just the way it is. So, we're here for you. You are our constituents. The police and the community should be one. We need to make sure that we're doing what our constituents want us to do. So the question is, why do we do what we do? Why do we have all those things that we say are forceful, and why do we act that certain way? Here's why. Because it is a dangerous job, and you yourself said that you couldn't do it. Well, I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could, but you don't want to. But there are people out there right now, there are law enforcement officers, men and women, who put their lives on the line every day. And unfortunately, at times, this is what happens. We don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that our police officers are safe. We want to make sure that they go home at the end of the night. That is a huge reason of why we do what we do. But another bigger reason, and the equal reason, is to protect you all. To make sure that we have an opportunity, to, when you guys go to sleep, to make sure that you wake up in the morning and your cars aren't broken into, your homes aren't broken into. But we cannot do it alone. We need everyone here to work along with us to make sure that that happens. That's it. Thank you very much for your attention. God bless.
The public safety commission that Councilwoman is trying to push that out.
In my personal opinion, because when it comes to that, I can't speak for the city, but I would say absolutely yes. Absolutely. Listen, it's one thing, and this is Jonathan talking right now. It is one thing to have somebody tell you something. It's another thing to sit in on it and be a part of it and draw your own opinion. I like to draw my own opinion. I don't like to be told all the time, this is this and that's that. So I would assume that we are all the same type of people. We sit there and we want to know, okay, that's great that you think that that's good, but let's take a look at, I live here. I don't just visit here, I live here. This is my home. That means something. And it is probably at a point where you ought to be involved in a lot of the decisions that are made for your home and in your area. That's just me saying that.
Lieutenant Parham, this presentation was quite informative, but the only thing I have to say what I felt in the beginning.
I know you always will.
You know I will. And the thing is, but I kept an open mind, so I'm like, okay, perhaps it'll change my opinion when we get to the end of the presentation, and it has not. It seems that while a lot of the information is valid, it seems like you are making an excuse for the behavior and the conduct of some of our police officers. Now, you're saying that the city should go to the county prosecutor's office, or let the people go there and voice our opinions on what we need to be said and done. I've spoken with the mayor, I've spoken with the chief, and my thing is, I believe Linden is not these areas. Linden's not Chicago, Illinois. It's been Mayberry, for Christ's sake. You know, everybody knows everybody. We're an Opie and Andy type of town. You know, so my thing is, this kind of force that you're saying that it's okay to bust somebody's head open, you know, to a concussion, excessive force, I think it should be applied when necessary. Not everybody deserves it, but because you all are conditioning the police officers as if they're going to be policing Manhattan or Brooklyn. I think from my, this is just me speaking, where Linden police officers can use some due diligence is in sensitivity training, and like you said, maybe be more prepared to deal with someone with a mental illness. You need to be able to discern that upon your approach. But even if you have someone that calls for you guys, and that person's upset or irate or whatever, I've seen it where the officers would turn on the person that was calling for help as opposed to the troublemaker.
Okay.
So my
Absolutely.
Sure.
Part of the thing that we're trying to do, which we're trying to do for the last 18 months, is change the culture of the police department. Any kind of cultural change takes years. I'll be long gone. Hopefully the younger guys can pick it up and continue that. All right? You have to change what these guys were taught. Change it. Right. All right? This is not working. All right? This is not what the people that you're working for want. If you were in a business and the boss told you to do this, you didn't do it, you'd be fired. Right? It's really hard to fire a police officer. But what we do is, anybody who feels that they were treated unjustly by anybody, we have citizen complaint forms, and we have to investigate every aspect of that complaint. So we're trying to get all the bosses, they got the patrol captain here, we're trying to get all the bosses to say, okay, somebody comes in with a complaint, you have to look at everything. Not just because I like Jonathan, Jonathan wouldn't do it, maybe he was having a bad day. No, you can't alibi it like that. If he violated the rules, if he violated the policy, if he violated something, all right, he'll be found guilty and he'll be punished for it. Right? You don't have to like take away his birthday, but he has to be punished for what he did, and that the guys know that. All right? And at one time you might get smacked on the hand, but if it's a repetitive thing, you're treating people the same way, then we got to get rid of it.
Now, what we normally do is we look at an officer and we say, okay, you went out there and you did A, B, and C, and quantitatively you've scored and you've got 20 different things. Well, that's great, you got 20. What we don't look at is the character that's associated to what you did to get those 20 things. Because we are saying to them, we want you to get it no matter what happens. We want you to catch the bad guy, even if you go up on the sidewalk and hit people, even if you run through people's houses. We award these things right here on what you do, not how you do it. And so we need to change that. And currently, right now, the character-based performance evaluation that we have, that the chief instituted, takes a look at, okay, how are you as a person? How are your ethics?
Right.
How are your morals? Not just on duty, but off duty as well. Those are the things that we are instituting right now as we speak, because this is not acceptable anymore.
I mean, because by all means, I totally agree. Like you said, you have the tools, you have the guns, you have the assault beanbag rifle, or the the non-armed thing, or whatever you call it. You have the gas stuff, like you said, you get the tasers. All these things are necessary. But I think that some of your officers are like, well, I have this stuff, so you have to be scared of me. And it's like they have the mindset, again, you're saying from the conditioning. Now, I'm not trying to recondition, but
no, we have to. We have to recondition.
Okay, but the thing, what I'm saying is, I think that just how we are today, and we're all sitting together in this room, and we're on one accord, and we're listening to each other. We see where you guys are coming from and why you do the things you do. You guys should understand, while we have a defense when we see the man in blue, by all means, I have nothing against you, we're neighbors. But, by all means, some officers, even in my ministry, I don't even want to interact with, you know what I mean? I mean, some of them can't even say hello and goodbye. In elementary school, we're taught to be officer friendly and fireman, friend or whatever. Now, my point is this: I don't see the need to have to go to the prosecutor's office, because as I was saying previously, this is a small town. Everybody knows everybody, whether you're in Sunnyside, Winfield Park, down Linden, up Linden, across the tracks, wherever you are. This is such a small town. I think that, and I made the suggestion, and I'm going to keep pushing for it, that as many police officers can come together, if it don't apply, let it fly. But with some people, it's going to, they need to hear us, we need to hear them. And even if, like, you guys sit on one side, we sit on the other side, not that we're there for a debate, but hey, hear me out, and then, like you said, and just like the chief came in, I may not understand everything, and just you stepped up and I'll explain it. Okay, I understand why you're doing this, but maybe if we understood and there was a better communication with the community, and I told the mayor, we need unity in our community. Once again, once upon a time, all the cops knew everybody name by name, all the residents. When we were growing up, a lot of the officers that was there, they knew us all, by name. But now you don't get that. We're just, and so to speak, in certain parts of town, we're colored. And we're not always treated fairly, and I'm not trying to throw the race card, by no means.
Right.
Excellent presentation.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
I think the question I have, the first question I have is, how can we help you to help us? That's the first question. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's all your fault. What I want to say is, that, for example, this meeting was happening tonight. This was a very good presentation.
Absolutely.
We all should have been responsible and brought more people to it. What can we do as a clergy with our congregations to create more of a public awareness of what's being done? Have these types of presentations made to the children of our congregants? Do we invite you to the district conferences where we have larger church communities? What can we do to create the sensitivity on both sides that's needed to really, because this is a growth thing, this is an evolution kind of thing. Right? The more we get to know each other, the better we'll respond.
The chief is pointing at me because he's going to answer. So.
Can I answer, Greg? Oh, sure. One of the things we're doing as far as performance evaluation we came up with is we're going to selectively pick, we have a training. They're going to pick jobs. You got a burglary at your house, all right? Selectively, they're going to pick a burglary and they're going to say, okay, they're going to come back to you and say, how did the officer act? Did he show compassion? Or did he just not care, right? Did he worry about your stuff, or he just wanted the facts, like Joe Friday, like Lieutenant Martin was saying before, just the facts, man. This is going to be part of his evaluation. Go into his permanent file. Right? These are the things that his bosses are going to bring up. Like you said before, this is going to take years of change. We started it. Now we just got to continue going We need people to come in. If someone didn't treat you right, I want you to come and tell me, all right? Yeah, Lieutenant Parham was really rude to me, or you know, he really didn't. I want you to tell me, because this, we're trying to shape these guys in the future, and the only way we can do it is with the people's help. We're not there 24 hours. It's like you're not there with your kids all the time. You know what they do in front of you, but you don't know what they're doing when you're not around. So we need everybody, more eyes to say, okay, this is what the officers are doing when you're not around. When you're not watching, this is what they're doing.
To answer the Reverend's question, the answer is, yes, that's the answer. All those things. Invite us. We'll be more than happy to come. Let's share. We need more information sharing, because if you don't have an answer, most of the time what happens is you make up an answer.
That's right.
And maybe it's not the best answer. And so we'll tell you what the truth. I'm not going to hide anything. I've been a police officer here 20, going on 21 years. There have been some pretty good times, and there have been a lot of rough times. And I won't lie about it. Any cop in here will tell you the job is great. The people that they hate the most are not the bad guys on the street. Guess who it is? Some of the people that they work with. That's just life. That's just the way it is. And it's unfortunate. That should not happen. Sir.
Lieutenant Parham, I must commend you on a job well done.
Thanks.
I gotta just be, don't have any questions, but more so, compliment and a word of encouragement. You know, being in the military myself, you hit on a lot of facts that's not really being shared to the community, to the public. There's a lot of people that go into the military, and there's a conditioning period. You know, thank God my father did a lot of the physical and verbal conditioning at home. So
I understand.
When I got into the service, it wasn't really hard to accept. So I used to laugh and poke at the drill sergeants, but long story short, it's policies and procedures. I know there are things that you're trained to do, and I know a lot of this stuff didn't happen overnight, and I know it's not going to disappear overnight. And I'm just letting you know that I'm encouraging you to keep doing what you're doing. This public awareness, this information that you're doing, it should certainly go on a more grander scale to the public. They need to know what's really going on behind the scenes. And I just want to know, when's Public Safety Commission, which is great. I think that's something that we really need to move forward with.
That's right, that's right.
And as the Reverends both shared, as a community, I think if we all just get involved, from a clergy perspective. Not only that, because I live here too. This is my home, and I want to make sure that I do whatever I can, to help police my neighborhood. See something, report it. Have a better relationship with the police community at large, and just, hey, listen, what can we do on our end? And if you continue doing what you're doing, sharing this information, getting with the people, the clergy, obviously the politicians, the mayor, I know that's still a work in progress, Chief. I'm hoping that eventually it will all mesh, come together, so we can get our small community more safer, because right now it's starting to get out of hand.
That's right.
Oh,
It's really getting out of hand. And sometimes I don't know who's finna phone anymore. And there was a point where I used to know. So I just want to commend you on the job well done, and I just am happy that you were very transparent.
Absolutely.
My church is in Newark, and anyone knows about Newark, you're not going to get nowhere near this type of information from the inside.
That's right.
Only time you get the information from the inside is if you're on the other side with the silver bracelets, in the jail. So I just thank you for taking this time out and giving us this information. This is very valuable.
Thanks. Ma'am.
I'd like to say the same. Much of my sentiments were echoed by him. In addition to that, I'd like to say that my experience has been very positive with Linden's police. And to you guys, you're doing a great job. And sometimes you don't get the pat on the back that you deserve. Many of the officers come out and help us with the Thanksgiving baskets. They're riding around with their cars. They're giving up their time and their energy. And Chief has plenty of police patrol. So Linden's police is certainly some of the finest. The only time, well, one of the times that our house was broken into, I must say that Linden's police found the person. And you've got a lot of towns where nobody even makes an effort to find out what happened to you. As long as you're alive, okay, it's all fine. But Linden's police, from the time that I've lived, for all of the time that I've been in this town, it has been really good. I've worked the playgrounds, and I had lots of police presence. I've lived in the community, and I've had plenty of police presence. So basically, I just want to say you guys are doing a really great job, and I think it's a good idea that you also incorporate the character of police with the type of situations they find themselves in. And a special thanks to you for taking the time to communicate with the members of the community in terms of why some of the things happen that do happen, and trying to build some sensitivity on our part in terms of why the police do what they do.
Excuse me, Lieutenant. I'm Captain Gene Braun. I am one of the patrol commanders. You've met me before. I've been to the community meeting before with other officers. What I'd like to do now is, these are officers that actually work in the area, have a supervisor and 2 officers that work in this area. I'd like them to introduce themselves to you so you actually know who they are. If you haven't met them on the street already, from parking walks or whatever, what we're trying to do with the community and so on, I'd like them to introduce themselves. Start out over here, please.
My name is Officer Wisnowski. I just got on, started in June. I was in the Marine Corps before this, and I'm looking forward to having a long career here in Linden and getting to know everybody down here. Congratulations.
My name is Officer Edgar. I've been on the job 13 years, and that whole 13 years I've been in this district. So I know this district pretty well. And to say that it's kind of like Mayberry, well, Mayberry's getting a little tough though. People that Officer Sergeant Mack has grown up with and done things for are now spitting in our face. Okay, so we're handling it the best way we can. If you see us out there, we're very approachable. I mean, we may not seem it, but we will, and we'll take care of whatever we need to take care of to make this a safe place.
Sergeant Mack, I've been on the job 15 years. I've been in this neighborhood for the last 15 years. I got promoted in October. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm always available.
Well, thank you all very much for allowing us to present this information to you. We're certainly available for community meetings, church meetings, whatever. Our mission is to get this information, to increase information sharing, and really just to have an open dialogue. Even if it's nothing more than just, just talking, just trying to. It doesn't even have to be about anything crime related, but the fact that we share information, that we have that open dialogue, that's going to help us out in the future. So, and it's something that I came on in 1992. Recall the chief was a sergeant in community policing. So when we first started this whole venture, and I've really bought into the concept. I believe it, and I can tell you from my perspective, I tried it the other way. I tried the tough guy routine. I was the guy that was out there fighting. I was the guy out there, didn't care. I was kicking indoors and doing car pursuits and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it was fun until I started to realize, wait a minute, not everybody is a criminal. And these are the people that are a part of your community. And guess what? Even the criminals deserve to be treated a certain way. You're a professional and you need to act that way. And you need to be more of a professional when you're dealing with people that Councilperson, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for coming as always. This is one of our best meetings. Even if you're not going to come, I'm going to say you're going to be here so more people show up at the meetings, because it was a well-anticipated presentation. I've been talking about it, and now hopefully we can leave here with a better understanding and talk to somebody and let them know, like, it's not personal. The cop's not after you. That's what he's taught. So I have a high regard for the police, because since I've been in this community, I've dealt with all of the police, and especially the chief, and they're helpful. But at the end of the day, sometimes, like Lieutenant said, everybody doesn't behave the same way always, and there's always, a chain of command. So, but thank you so much for coming. Thank you all for coming, and thank you to our health officer for coming and sharing the information about mental health. Again, underdiagnosed in urban areas. Absolutely. Somebody's acting out, they may be sick. Okay, so just keep that in your mind. All right.
And I will say this before I leave. Somebody has been listening to us, and somebody has really been taking our words, in stride. Our streets are a lot cleaner. Chandler Avenue is a whole lot freer of drug dealers. St. George Avenue is a whole lot freer of our drug dealers. And I'm going to say this, that it's so funny that we have all officer friendlies in this room. I've seen Sergeant Mack and John and I, we grew up together. But Chief Sal, he's always there with us, and somebody's listening to us. But my thing is, you guys are the superiors. And I want to encourage you guys that you're on the job 21 years, Sergeant, you got 15 in, you came with the building. But just like you went into the academy, Lieutenant Parham, and I say that in your authority, just like you went and conditioned these guys with this mindset to be forceful, you all need to now set the example. Like you said, it didn't happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight with the transition. But you all need to start imposing on your fellow officers, especially those below you. Set an example for the newcomer now that it's not going to pay off. Your outcome will be a whole lot more progressive, productive, and it's going to be a lot more unified if you all have a better attitude and character, because oftentimes we react, and I say this as a community, we react according to, from a defense as opposed to an offense. So I just want to encourage you guys, you're doing a great job. I wish that some of the others that do have the attitude problems were here, you know, and listening, but pass it on, because you know what they always say, that word of mouth travels the fastest and it has the most effect. So I just want to encourage you guys, pass it on.
If you see the officer in the middle here, he has 2 stripes. These are training officers. They train for a year, the new guys. All right, we handpick who the training officers are to do this, to put this philosophy in with the new.
I see the faces. I mean, like you said, these guys, they're very approachable. You know, they are the ones you say hello and goodbye to.
Thank you all for coming. Just remember, we can make this a little bit better by supporting Councilwoman Harvey Hurling's ordinance for a public safety commission. Not council people,
that's right,
people like you that are going to be there and giving advice and working together to make sure we get this type of information to the entire city of Linden. So thank you for coming. Make sure you sign in and grab some information from the facility assistant.